What's up guys, this is Ultimate Device Vids, and in this video we're going to be doing a speed test between the iPhone 14, the iPhone 13, and the iPhone 12, so Apple's latest 3 generations of standard phone offerings. And before we get started, I want to mention a few things. All 3 devices are running at their peak performance capability in regards to battery health, and they're also all running their latest respective versions of iOS 16 as of recording this video. And we're going to kick things off with some app launching tests. So we're going to start off with some lighter applications. And as to be expected with super simple applications like this on devices that have been released in the last few years, all 3 devices just blaze through these without a problem. And as I'm sure a lot of you guys might know, the iPhone 14 actually features the very same processor that the iPhone 13 has, being the Apple A15 Bionic chip. The only difference in terms of the processor being the iPhone 13's A15 Bionic chip has a 4-core GPU, while the iPhone 14's A15 Bionic chip has a 5-core GPU. And of course, in terms of doing simple day-to-day tasks, you're not going to notice any difference in terms of that. You might notice a little bit of an advantage when doing super CPU-intensive things with a lot of graphics. But again, 99% of the time, you're not going to see a difference as small as that, for the average person at least. Apple silicone processors have gotten extremely powerful over the last several years, and in turn, that future-proofs iPhones for many years, to the point where even if I use a device that has a processor that's, 4 or 5 years old, I barely even notice a difference in comparison to the latest processor. So with that being said, of course, in a video like this, when we're comparing Apple's latest 3 iPhones, there's only going to be a very, very minor difference in performance for most tasks, especially considering the iPhone 13 and iPhone 14 share basically the same processor. Of course, when you compare devices side by side like this, you might notice a split-second advantage on newer generations occasionally, but in day-to-day life, you're definitely not going to notice that. And he also wanted to include a few stock applications just to really drive the point home that in terms of day-to-day standard applications, launching them up, you're not going to see much of a difference at all on devices that have this much processing power. Next, we're going to do a consecutive app launching test. So I'm going to be launching the same set of applications on all 3 of these devices, and I'm going to show each device doing this side by side, just to give you an idea of what it's like switching between applications in fast succession on these devices. And for the most part, the same results that, we're showing in the previous app launching test also show here. Very similar performance across the board. Again, maybe a split-second advantage on the newer devices occasionally. You should keep in mind that in tests like these, there can definitely be a degree of randomness. I definitely wouldn't recommend analyzing the results of tests like these super carefully. Just kind of take it as gauging overall speed and performance. And yeah, without a doubt, all 3 devices just blazing fast. Absolutely nothing to complain about at all. Any variation between these 3 devices throughout this consecutive app launching test was maximum maybe a second or 2, so no big difference here whatsoever, as to be expected. And we're just going to go ahead and speed through the remainder of the consecutive app launching test. And directly following the consecutive app launching test, I want to do a quick RAM management check just to see which applications remained open in the background. And just to let you guys know, the iPhone 14 has 6 gigabytes of RAM, and the iPhone 13 and iPhone 12 both have 4 gigabytes of RAM. It has to be expected, all applications remained open without a problem. And we didn't do anything super CPU intensive, but I just wanted to go back and make sure all applications were still open, and sure enough, they were. Next, we're going to do a synchronized Face ID test. Once again, I'm just going to unlock all 3 devices with Face ID and show them side by side doing this, and all blazing fast. Nothing to complain about at all. And real quick, I also want to run a few web page loading tests, and definitely keep in mind that this largely depends on the internet connection that you're using. Of course, the results of this can vary, quite a lot depending on that. But the main takeaway here is all 3 devices, nothing to worry about. Everything loads up super quickly and smoothly. I just loaded up a few web pages on google.com and then a few on apple.com as well. And lastly, I want to run a few benchmark tests. We're going to start off with Geekbench, and as to be expected, taking a look at the results, the iPhone 13 and iPhone 14 are very similar because they have the same processor, just again with that slightly updated GPU. Of course, in addition to the RAM being updated from 4 gigs in the 13 to 6 gigs in the 14. And we're also going to run an Antutu test as well. And in terms of the overall score, same thing to report here for the most part. So there you guys have it. At the end of the day, you really can't go wrong with any of these 3 devices, as they're all incredibly powerful phones. If you guys are using any of these 3 devices, let me know down below in the comments section how the speed and performance has been for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.